Hey, good afternoon to you. 506 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL.
Our CBS poll finds that a majority of Americans, 53%, approve of the job he's doing. That's a better approval number than he ever reached during his first term in the White House. Joining us with more is our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good to see you, Anthony. What's driving this?
I will keep it simple, Margaret. He's doing, in the eyes of the public, what he said he would do in the campaign. There's political value in that. In fact, 70% of people say he's doing what he promised. That's whether they approve of him or not. Now, there's another part of this that continues over from the campaign. There were words that he was described as being tough, being energetic, and he still is today in big majority numbers.
Big CBS poll numbers this weekend finding President Trump has majority approval, and most people, 70%, say he's doing exactly what he said he would do. Additionally, if you break the numbers down by age, it's kind of interesting. The baby boomer generation is split evenly on President Trump. Among millennials, he has a 4-point advantage. You get to Gen Z, he's got a 10-point advantage among Generation Z. Here to describe why, not a member of Gen Z, Matthew Continetti is here, the founding editor of the Washington Free Beacon and the author of The Right, the 100-Year War for American Conservatism. Sir, good to talk to you again.
Hi, Vince. Thanks for having me.
What is going on here? Why is Gen Z so fascinated and enamored by President Trump?
Well, it's interesting. I think Gen Z, as they come of age, their first experiences are with the Biden administration. 4 years of record inflation, record immigration, a broken southern border, and a humiliated United States, whether we were withdrawing for Afghanistan, couldn't prevent the outbreak of war in Ukraine or Israel, a sense that no one was at the wheel. And so young people were receptive to Donald Trump's message at the beginning of the 2024 campaign. And he made the connection through a media strategy that emphasized podcasts, long-form interviews, social media, not just Twitter anymore or X, but TikTok, that appealed to young people. And so when you have that experience of coming of age at a time of high inflation, high interest rates, it's hard to get by, Donald Trump's message of change really struck a chord, and we're seeing that play out now.
To what extent do you also think that this taps into the traditional sort of like anti-establishment sentiment among young people,
Right.
who are looking for the rebel, are looking for the guy who's working against the establishment? President Trump has been in an all-out war against that establishment. Has that added to his support?
Oh, I think that's a great point. It used to be that Republicans were kind of the party of rule followers, people who, stayed in line and deferred to authority. Well, that's all changed, and it's changed for a couple reasons. The first is President Trump ran against the Republican establishment just as much as he ran against the Democratic establishment.
Yeah.
And the other reason it's changed is that because of political correctness and woke, it's the Democrats now who are the lecturers, the scolds, the moralists. I think young people are looking for something new, something interesting, ways to rebel. They're now looking at Donald Trump's Republican Party.
Yes. Also, it does seem like President Trump has passed on the authenticity test, which is, you mentioned the podcasts and his ability to go into these long-form environments and have natural conversations with people of all walks of life. I think about a lot the Theo Von interview that he did with the comedian, and he was asking Theo sincerely to explain his experience with cocaine. What was that like? How did you get through it? Did you enjoy it when you were on cocaine? Just a natural conversation between the two men. It was the kind of conversation that I couldn't in a million years envision Kamala Harris having and sounding natural or relaxed.
Well, and not just Harris, who was unable to come to any agreement with Joe Rogan to sit for a similar interview like the 3-hour-plus interview Donald Trump did with Joe Rogan. But think of Joe Biden. Just yesterday, Donald Trump sat for an interview with Bret Baier, parts of which aired during the Super Bowl. Of course, Biden did not do a Super Bowl interview in 2024, and that was one of many mounting signs that he was going to have trouble actually running for a second term. Trump has been more accessible to the press in the first 3 weeks of his presidency, his second term, than Biden was throughout all 4 years of his one term in office.
Yeah.
So I think that's right. The authenticity plays, the accessibility plays, and look, love him or hate him, you always get Donald Trump. I mean, there's no filter, as we say, with President Trump.
Well, there's no mystery. It's complete transparency. It's the thing we all say we want, and then it turns out when he does it, some people don't want it. Hey, on kind of how what's going to happen next. It's always hard in political prognostication to predict the future, but I do think that we're watching as the left is basically refusing to change course right now, Matthew Continetti, in so many ways. Their cable news broadcasts are just as hysterical and anti-Trump and conspiracy theorizing as ever. Their process of picking their leader at the DNC was full of all these really embarrassing moments where they're talking about gender non-binary status and stolen land and emphasizing race and saying that Kamala only lost because she's a black woman. It seems like they're not changing tact at all, actually, in these quarters. To what extent is that going to keep these young voters in Trump's camp, do you think?
Well, I think it will help. The more that the Democrats continue to double down on wokeism and on progressivism and on kind of very obscure cultural issues, most people, including young people, are not going to be able to listen to them. But the other part of it is, too, Donald Trump has to produce results. And I think what a lot of people are expecting is that the change that Donald Trump is pledged and is making real here in Washington will result in a better life for Americans, higher incomes, stable prices, safe streets, better schools, a more peaceful world. If he achieves that in these next 4 years, then I think he may well solidify this connection he's made with the younger generation.
What do you make of the pace? Obviously, this is the conversation that a lot of us are having right now. Is just he's coming in at unbelievable speed. Clearly, with a lot of people around him who've given a lot of sincere thought to what needs to be fixed within government, how to break through the walls that exist there, and how to do it with such speed that the left can't even concentrate on one thing in order to debilitate it. What do you make of this? Why is it so different this time around?
Well, second terms typically are periods of exhaustion. The staff is tired. The public is kind of looking for something new. This isn't so much Trump's second term as it's his second first term. And it's a second first term with Trump having had 4 years, not only to think about what he wants to do, but to develop the type of lieutenants that he wants to carry out his orders. And this is, I think, is another aspect of this Trump youth movement, Vince, and that is when you look at the people staffing his administration, it's not just the 20-somethings who make up Elon Musk's Doge team. You look at whether it's JD Vance, who's 40 years old, or Pete Hegseth, who's in his mid-40s, or Elise Stefanik, who's 44. Marco Rubio is a senior member, and he's almost 60 years old. This is a very young cabinet. What Trump is doing, it seems to me, at all levels of his administration, is picking the next generation of Republican and conservative populist leaders. And that's just another way that his impact and influence will last longer than the second term.
Yeah, it sure seems like it. And he's definitely helped rewire the thinking of so many conservative activists and Republicans about what is possible, what's achievable, and how aggressive you can be. And people value that if you're actually fighting for them.
Yeah, it's all about, I think, willpower, speed, and also, not really listening to the conventional wisdom in Washington, D.C. For so many years, it seems, Republicans, once they were elected, began to adopt the manners and attitudes of kind of the permanent establishment here in Washington, including the mainstream media.
Yes.
And Donald Trump's answer to that is a big fat no, and people are listening and liking it.
No question. In fact, one of the ways that I see some of that change is that the right is less prone to give the media a heckler's veto now. It used to be that the right would run in fear of media coverage, New York Times covers, Washington Post, whatever. This past week, the left had really dedicated a lot of its resources and time at going after some of the young people who are working for Elon Musk in this Doge enterprise. And there was a guy who had apparently expressed some anti-Indian views online, and the left had dug it up, and they were able to secure a resignation and got rid of him. But within minutes, all of a sudden, Elon Musk and JD Vance and much of the right online said, hey, wait a second. I thought we were beyond that world where the left could decide who we hire and who we fire. We shouldn't let them have that power anymore. And instantly, you had the vice president of the United States saying, I think we should bring him back. It's not an endorsement of his views, but we shouldn't allow the left to have this power. I think we're watching a very big change take place, Matt Continetti.
Well, it's a huge change, and it means that cancel culture is not going to have the same deterring effect on a lot of young people and a lot of people as they express views that maybe they made when they were very young and they came to regret.
Right.
That's no longer going to kind of linger over them as they go through their careers based on Vice President Vance's actions and Elon Musk's rehiring of this individual over the weekend.
And these guys, these young guys in particular, Matt, I've found it so just awful that they're being attacked for being young. That has really been the primary means that the left has decided to attack them, which is pretty funny coming from a political party that has long advocated for letting children become voters and saying that you can chop up your body if you feel like you were born in the wrong one. But if you put a couple of geniuses inside of the government and let them audit the way the government's spending money, that's deeply dangerous now.
Well, when Bill Clinton's boomers, 20 years out of college wanted to reinvent government, it was celebrated. Here are Elon Musk's Gen Zers who are actually doing something about government and changing it. And it's a horror show, according to our media. I think it's another way that the left is exhibiting itself as kind of a out of touch school marmy. And this is just an image I don't think that has broad political appeal at all.
Yeah, me neither. All right. Hey, Matthew Continetti, thank you as always for your great work. Good to talk to you today, sir. Oh, what a world, what a world. As we were going into the weekend, President Trump announced that he was firing all the lefties on the board of the Kennedy Center, and he was announcing that he was the chairman now, which is really funny for a million different reasons. But it's well within his right to do. The president calls the shot there. Not so directly, and here he is doing that. A reporter asked him this weekend, why do you want to be chairman of the Kennedy Center? Here's what the president said.
Why do you want to be chairman of the Kennedy Center board?
Because I want to make sure it runs properly. We don't need woke at the Kennedy Center. We don't need, some of the shows were terrible. They're a disgrace that they were even put on. So I'll be there until such time as it gets to be running right.
Have you seen any shows there? How do you know they're terrible?
I didn't go. No, I got reports it was so bad I didn't want to go. There was nothing I wanted to see. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, they even have a presidential box there, right? Something he can go watch these shows. He wasn't interested, didn't want to see the drag shows. He thought that was stupid, and they shouldn't do that anymore. So they're not doing it anymore. And then the left has been really upset about this. They're furious. We didn't know he even knew about the Kennedy Center. Why is he going after our shows? On the Nova subreddit this weekend, which has become just one of my favorites. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Headline on one of the posts this weekend, very popular, viral post. What do we do? 2 question marks. The Kennedy Center thing is somehow the final straw for me. I don't know how to just sit around and wait for something tangible to do to fight back against the madness that Trump is unleashing. Freaking out. One respondent saying, the whole point is to overwhelm you and make you feel powerless. Challenges to these are coming out left and right, but of course they take time to set up. So by the time they do, he's moved on to the next bombastic thing. They want you to feel powerless. They want you to feel like their reign is absolute. It isn't. This thread, of course, is characteristically insane. There's a bunch of people who say this is exactly what Hitler would do. That's right. Hitler would take over the Kennedy Center and improve it. That's what they're claiming. They also say only Trump, this is a real post, only Trump can think he could remove the word gay from the theater and YMCA. It's amazing, the world of delusion these people live within. Here's the update for you. You ready? This it's going to blow that guy's mind. President Trump, just moments ago, posting to Truth Social, I am pleased to announce that Rick Grenell will serve as the Interim Executive Director of the Kennedy Center. Rick shares my vision for a golden age of American arts and culture and will be overseeing the daily operations of the center. No more drag shows or other anti-American propaganda, only the best. Rick, welcome to show business. Now, I can't wait to see how this forum of angry liberals deals with this, because Rick Grenell is one of the most prominent openly gay men on the planet, and President Trump just appointed him to run the Kennedy Center. So this is great. This is another just a kick to the left. As they have no idea how to process any of this. They have no idea. It's all too fast. I can't even contemplate how to process this. It seems so overwhelming. Yeah. Get used to it. Get used to it. That's really funny. So Rick Grenell, who is I think he's kind of Mr. Trump's Mr. Fix-It at this point, isn't he? President Trump's Mr. Fix-It. He just he's like, send Rick in. Rick will fix it. Yeah, Rick will fix it. We'll see. That's funny. That's really funny. I'm telling you, the outside, they put the LGBTQ lights all around the Kennedy Center all the time. You're like driving over the bridges. The Kennedy Center's all lit up with the rainbow stuff. Let's change that. How about red, white, and blue? How about that from now on? That'd be nice. You arrive in the nation's capital, and the building's lit up like it's a part of the nation's capital. It's a great start. More ahead on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hey there, good afternoon to you. It's 5:35, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. I've got a couple things to get to with you. One, we've got Senator Eric Schmitt of Missouri announcing here in the last half hour what the business of the Senate is right now, in case you were wondering. Tulsi Gabbard's nomination is right now, there's a vote going on in the United States Senate to invoke cloture. That would be to bring debate to an end about her nomination. And that would start, once that vote goes through, that starts a 30-hour debate period. And then that concludes tomorrow night, which means that they would do the confirmation vote tomorrow evening. That's what Eric Schmitt is reporting today. And then RFK Jr. is next. Now, we're still waiting for Kash Patel to run the FBI as well. So they've got a lot of business to get to here in the United States Senate, and hopefully they can move with all available speed. But, of course, the left is trying to gum up the works and slow things down. So right now, Tulsi Gabbard is being considered in the United States Senate. They're taking that vote to start that 30-hour debate period. So we have some progress there. As far as intelligence goes and security clearances, you see the news over the weekend that President Trump has yanked Joe Biden's security clearance. It's done. He's a former president of the United States, but President Trump, he's only returning the favor because Joe Biden directed the intelligence community back in 2021 to stop giving security briefings to President Trump. So, in turn, President Trump says, well, you don't get them either. You're done. President Trump saying on Truth Social this weekend, quote, there is no need for Joe Biden to continue receiving access to classified information. Therefore, we are immediately revoking Joe Biden's security clearances and stopping his daily intelligence briefings. He set this precedent in 2021 when he instructed the intelligence community to stop the 45th president of the United States, me, exclamation point, from accessing details on national security, a courtesy provided to former presidents. He says the Hur report revealed that Biden suffers from poor memory and even in his prime could not be trusted with sensitive information. I will always protect our national security. Joe, you're fired. Make America great again. That's what President Trump wrote this weekend in his characteristically enthusiastic social media posting. So he cut off Joe Biden, which is fun. Also fun, he has revoked security clearances for a whole bunch of other people and has also denied them access to federal buildings. President Trump has ordered that some former and current federal and state officials lose their security clearance and access to federal buildings, according to the New York Post this weekend. Former Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, New York Attorney General Letitia James, and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg are 3 of 8 different officials who are all expected to be affected, according to the New York Post. The revocation's coming just a day after President Trump revoked Biden's security clearance. Blinken spearheaded that October 2020 missive that was signed by 51 former intelligence officials, all implying that the news story of a laptop belonging to President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, revealed Hunter's exploitation of his father's position with his father's probable knowledge for Hunter's gain was Russian disinformation. That's the claim they made. Former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morell revealed that to lawmakers. Trump said this, according to the New York Post: bad guy, take away his passes. This is to take away every right they have, revoking security clearances, including they can't go into federal buildings. So President Trump, consequences. This is the FO part of FAFO is here. It's here. As these guys are, it's a very small thing, but getting rid of their security clearances, perfectly fine. President Trump also revealing a lot of secrets. Remember, he issued that executive order to expose the JFK files? Well, I've got an update for you. This just an hour ago, Axios reports that the FBI has found secret JFK assassination records that have never before been seen in public. The FBI just discovered 2,400 records tied to President Kennedy's assassination that were never provided to a board tasked with reviewing and disclosing the documents, Axios has learned. The still secret records are contained in 14,000 pages of documents that the FBI found in a review triggered by President Trump's January 23rd executive order demanding the release of all of these JFK assassination records. The discovery, 61 years after Kennedy was killed in Dallas, follows decades of government reluctance to release all of the documents related to the assassination, which has, of course, fueled a mountain of conspiracy theories. The existence of these new documents was just disclosed on Friday to the White House when the Office of the Director of National Intelligence submitted its plan to disclose the assassination records under Trump's order. The contents of these newly found records? Closely held secrets, says Axios. The 3 sources who relayed their existence to Axios said they hadn't seen the documents. But the discovery of thousands of records of one of the most scrutinized events in U.S. history is, of course, likely to raise questions about the procedures for vetting and releasing information across the entire government. Man, all right, so we will see. We will see. That's a lot of records, though. 2,400 records tied to the assassination. President Trump wants it all public. He said, enough already. Just tell everyone. Just tell everyone. That is kind of a change, though, from his prior position on this subject, isn't it, Corey? I remember there was a clip of him going around at one point talking to, I think it was Andrew Napolitano, where they were talking about the release of the JFK files. And he said something to the effect of, if you saw what I saw, you wouldn't want to release it either. His position has changed. He's inclined to release it. But we'll see. Look, the U.S. government for years, by law, they're supposed to have already released all of this, and they've been stonewalling us. I'll believe it when it happens. Even with President Trump in office, it's just one of those things. It's like the government in all of its forms has been telling everybody forever, well, don't you worry, we're going to release everything. And then they never do. They just keep as many secrets as possible from you. Again, believe it when I see it. President Trump was flying to the Super Bowl this weekend. And on his way aboard Air Force One, there's a bunch of audio from that, including some of the conversations he had with the press. First, here's President Trump flying over the now newly renamed Gulf of America. And the pilot aboard Air Force One announced it so that everyone could appreciate that they were flying over, yes, the Gulf of America.
And we're flying right over it right now. So we thought this would be appropriate. Even bigger than the Super Bowl. This is a big thing. And almost everybody now has assented to that.
Attention on board. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please direct your attention out the right side of the aircraft. Air Force One is currently in international waters for the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America. Please enjoy.
Did he say international waters? He did say international waters. Let's change that too. We should straight up own the Gulf of America. That's American property now. None of this international waters business. Let's just take it.
Is currently in international waters for the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America. Please enjoy the flight, and we are now about to head westbound to Super Bowl 59.
Wow, he did that well. That's a good.
So we do a little trolling. A Huffington Post reporter tried to ask a question of President Trump, and the president responded by saying, "I thought HuffPo died."
And if the Supreme Court rules in a way that you don't like, they can just enforce it by themselves. Do you agree with that?
I don't know even what you're talking about. Neither do you. Who are you with?
HuffPo, sir.
Who?
HuffPo.
Oh, no wonder. I thought they died. Are they still around? I haven't read them in years. I thought they died. All right, go ahead. Who else?
More of that, please. Just, I mean, what more could you ask for? The guy does 1 million press conferences, and you got to be prepared for that if you're the Huffington Post or any of these other left wing rags. Yeah, he's going to say something like that. You've got to have something prepared when he does. I've got Todd calling in from Rockville right now on line 2. Todd, you are on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, sir.
Hey, Vince, good to talk to you. Thanks for taking my call. Just wanted to say that I'm really looking forward to Rick Grenell being the executive director of the Kennedy Center. You know, over the holidays, we were looking for things to do that were very holiday-oriented, and there was, like, hardly anything there. And you go online and you see, all these Christmas and holiday celebrations in Austria and the Netherlands and everything, and, with adults and kids. And it's like, why don't we get back to that kind of classic culture here? So I'm really looking forward. I think he's going to do an amazing job. I really do.
I was saying today, I was telling Corey, one of the things I'm kind of looking forward to is I assume that they're going to use the Kennedy Center for some tributes to America. They'll have those types of events. And Corey, you were telling me they did one when President Trump was in office the first go around. They used the Kennedy Center for at least one of those. I think that'd be good. And also, the reality here, look, if you're the Kennedy Center and you want to bring in new people to actually become members and attend events at the Kennedy Center, what better way than to have President Trump exert some influence here? Because you're going to start bringing in more and more people who are supportive of the president or are looking at this cultural revival that he's interested in. It could actually be very good for the Kennedy Center. I realize the left is screeching about it because it's going to be the end of the arts. No, it's going to be, hopefully, the revival of good art. And, for that matter, Todd, to your point, I was just talking to a friend today who was describing that she was trying to go out with her fiance recently to go see a show. They wanted to see a symphony together. And she said it was so hard to find a performance that wasn't woke, that didn't have some sort of like modern twist baked into it, that had a social message, that wasn't just great art. And so if this restores art to sort of, again, that golden age, it could be a big deal, Todd. You could be seeing, some of these Christmas events, something worth taking the kids to.
Exactly. Let's pray.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my call.
I always do. Thanks, Todd. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it'll be good. It'll be fun to see what Rick Grenell does with that. Again, Mr. Fix-It. The guy, President Trump sends him in and things improve. He just sent him down to South America. He came back with a bunch of American hostages. Like that, within seconds. The Biden people didn't do that. Rick Grenell did it in like 4 minutes. I think the Kennedy Center's in good hands. George is calling in from one of the Jacksonvilles on line 4. Hello, George. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Jacksonville, Florida. Vince, I absolutely love the show, and I try to catch it every day, either on my phone or I have a little internet radio. But anyway, after Kennedy's assassination, there was a commission formed called the Warren Commission, and I believe it was headed by Chief Judge Justice Earl Warren. And I'm amazed that these documents were sitting there in the FBI, and they were never revealed to that. It was a big-time commission. I don't know if you remember, but...
Yes, it's an infamous commission. I mean, it was designed to literally give us the answers that we still don't have.
Yeah, and it's just amazing that these documents they're squirreled away and nobody's seen them.
Yeah, and a long time ago, you know, the John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act, they were supposed to make sure that every record of the assassination was disclosed by 2017. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was now many years ago. And we still don't have everything. So what you have is a federal government that's like straight up just, you know, flagrantly violating the law, ignoring the law. We're not going to release things. President Trump trying to break through all of that right now. So we'll see how much success he has. But yes, to George's point, news this hour that the FBI has found 2,400 records that were never provided about JFK's assassination, which now the White House is well aware of. So we'll see what happens there. Thank you, George. What else? I've got I do have a clip of President Trump today that was just released by Fox. President Trump did a big interview with Bret Baier, a portion of which aired during the Super Bowl, or just ahead of the Super Bowl yesterday. Here is something that just was aired today. This is just a preview of more. And President Trump, Bret asked President Trump whether or not he considers JD Vance to be his successor. Now, I've heard that President Trump loves JD and does see the future of the party in his hands. But listen to President Trump here, because he's not exactly saying that. He straight up says, like, I'm not backing any particular horse coming up in 2028. Take a listen.
Do you view Vice President JD Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's too early. We're just starting.
But by the time you get to the midterms, he's going to be looking for an endorsement.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that this has been the greatest opening, almost 3 weeks, in the history of the presidency.
It's definitely been the fastest and the most stuff
Well,
happening.
we've done so much so fast, and we really had to, because they have really, what they've done to our country is so sad. It's so sad. We're going to be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
All right, so there you go. Kind of an interesting answer where he says, he's doing a great job so far. It's like kind of like, I'm keeping my eye on you, kid. That's basically the message I'm getting from this. But I got to say, watching all of this from my perch, I think JD Vance is doing a phenomenal job. That guy has been a forceful advocate for the administration. In fact, I've got one other idea. They should have JD Vance on rotation at the press briefing. It shouldn't just be Caroline Leavitt, and it won't be, of course. They're going to have other people step up to the microphone from time to time. President Trump should do surprise appearances at the briefing. He's always taking questions anyway, so that's kind of a pointless suggestion. But Vice President Vance, can you imagine him at the briefing like once a week or at least once a month? Just pop in there and answer questions. He'll handle the press great. He's good at that. He's very good at that, and he's getting better with each passing day. I'd put him out there. Could be good. 551. Oh, my goodness. You see the New York Post headline this weekend? President Trump rules out deporting Prince Harry. Quote, he's got enough problems with his wife. This guy, this is what President Trump told Piers Morgan previously about that Prince Harry character.
You cannot use the nuclear word ever again. Harry is whipped. Do you know the expression whipped?
I'm familiar with the phrase.
I won't use the full expression. But Harry is whipped like no person I think I've ever seen. I'm not a fan of Meghan.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. And I wasn't right from the beginning. I think poor Harry is being led around by his nose, okay?
You think he's going to end?
I do. I've been a very good predictor, as you know. I predicted almost everything. It'll end, and it'll end bad. And I wonder if Harry's going to go back on his hands and knees and say, please, I think Harry has been led down a path.
If you were the Queen.
It's unbelievable. Thank God that guy's president. You always know what he's thinking. The great one, Mark Levin, up next here on WMAL.